Welcome to BCSD News. November is Men's Health Awareness Month, and we begin this edition of BCSD News with a special message from Superintendent Doc Ervin.
It was like, oh, by the way, when we did your biopsy, we found cancer.
Words no one wants to hear.
I think it was more like shock. Like, I've been healthy my whole life, my whole career. And I immediately start thinking about my kids, right? The first thing that goes through your mind is, what about your wife and kids? And you start thinking to the extremes, like, how bad is it? And I think you also start thinking about, like, well, how much longer do I have to live? Is this, what stage is this? Am I like at a stage 4? Am I at stage 1? Or is this it?
The diagnosis, prostate cancer. A common cancer found in men, but while some types of prostate cancer grow slowly and may need minimal or even no treatment, other types are aggressive and can spread quickly.
And I realized I should have been focusing on my health at times, and I didn't do that.
Even though doctors were proactive and test results were promising, the thought of having cancer was overwhelming.
It's very life-altering because one moment you got all these plans, these things that you're thinking about. You're thinking about schools, you're thinking about what you're doing for kids, you're thinking about your staff, you're thinking about your job, you're thinking about your family, and when next thing you know, all that has just sort of like come to a halt. You're no longer thinking about that. You're thinking now about, man, what's going to happen? How do I go, how do I move forward? I got a 10-year-old at home. I got 3 boys who are, going into adulthood, and I got my wife, and I was like, this is just sort of like you got this cloud hanging over you, raining, and you're not sure what to think.
Thanks to support from his family, friends, and many at the district, Doc remained positive, even on the hardest of days.
You can easily get into a sort of depressive mode, right? You can feel like, oh man, this is it. Everything's coming to an end.
After 14 weeks of radiation and doctor's treatments, Doc rang the BCSD school bell, a symbol for cancer patients around the world, marking the end of their treatments.
I appreciate all the support throughout the entire process. I think that my family has been very supportive. My wife has been very supportive. She went with me to all of my radiation treatments. My kids were very supportive. The staff have been supportive. The team has done a great job here within the district.
But the battle isn't over. Doc will have to continue testing and treatments until doctors determine the disease is inactive.
The good news is the doctors caught it early. And I hope that catching it early, I'm able to overcome.
Cancer is a very personal battle, one many don't want to talk about.
I had to give it some thought on whether or not I wanted to even share my story, because I think anytime you share and tell someone you have cancer, the C word, they're like, ooh. They look at you like, oh my God, that's it, you're done, you're a done deal.
But Doc decided to share his story in hopes that it may encourage his male colleagues to get checked.
Get regular checkups, because this is an example of what happens when you don't, when you focus on everything else and not yourself.
It's a lesson learned outside of the classroom that he hopes will help others.
I did not ever think about going and get tested or going and get checked for cancer. Never crossed my mind, not in a million years, because I want to help. If I can help another individual and save a life and get them to get checked, it would mean a lot to me.
About 1 in 9 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. To our male colleagues, 40 and over, please consider getting screened. Be safe and well. We'll see you next week.